Welcome back to the Delicate Dynamic Podcast, and welcome here if you are new. I am your host, Daquana White. So this situation, this trial and series of stories has actually divided the internet. This situation actually brought a nobody to my Twitter notifications telling me that nobody cared about my father who is in prison. I am 28 years old. He has been in prison for about 24 years. But she told me that nobody cares about my father except for me and the men in prison who are currently, R-word, assaulting him. Okay? I actually couldn't believe that her head was so far up Megan's asshole, yet she would never get a whiff of Megan's flatulence. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and hop into episode 6, which is the people versus Daystar Peterson, not Megan versus Daystar Peterson.
Welcome to the Delicate Dynamic with your host, Daquana White. Tune in for deep thoughts, dope vibes, and all the drama. You can join the Delicate Dynamic podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, YouTube, and Instagram. Let's drift into this week's episode.
So I actually want to, this is not about being politically correct. This is not about being, again, Team Megan, Team Tory. This is not about that. I want to talk to you all as if I'm talking to a group of my friends sitting in a room. We sitting on the couch chatting, okay? But we will begin with, I am not victim blaming. I don't believe in victim blaming, or I am not pro Tory. I am actually not team anybody. I'm actually team truth. And I feel like the only truth in this case is Megan did not deserve to be shot. Well, that's one of the truths, right? She did not deserve to be shot regardless of her sly actions against or towards her friends. Kelsey. Tory did not or should not have had a gun, let alone shot the gun. And there is a such thing as cause and effect, right? And lastly, we do have the power to critically think about accountability regardless of what people on Twitter have to say. And I do feel like all truths can exist at once, okay, simultaneously. I do not believe that this case was a conspiracy to further separate black men and black women. People are running with that narrative. And again, everybody has the right to their own opinion. I just choose to try to work with fact, try to work with truth. And even sometimes I can be stuck in my ways. I can be stuck in my thoughts, but I try to come to situations with an open mind, right? But for the stands, okay, last PSA before we get into it, for the stands who won't or who can't critically think and will swiftly attack me or my image, there's probably two things you can say off the top of your head, right? And that's because you probably seen me around, or you probably went and started looking around to try to find something to attack. Again, this is for the stands. So if you're just a listener who's weighing in with an open mind, I appreciate you. But I do have to, I do want to, I don't have to, but I do want to, I guess, approach these people first really quickly. So one, I'm fat. There, I said it. Oh my gosh. I'm so hurt about it. No, I grow excessive hair. That's for two, right? But there, it's been said. So instead of hiding what people may see as flaws or things that you may hide, or maybe your grandmother or your aunt or your mom or your sister or your cousin, all right, or cousin. I'm so used to saying cousin or your cousin, because this is something that is actually very prominent in our community. I actually embrace people, right? So you might see it as a flaw, but I embrace people and I educate people about things such as PCOS, right? And excessive facial hair growth, and, ovulation, and what else? What else can I think of? Maybe a slow metabolism, so it's harder to lose weight. And let's not forget, things like PCOS also plague thinner people, right? So there's no hiding any of that. You want to know why? Because I actually run multiple platforms with over 1 million followers, and I am plastered everywhere freaking proudly. So make sure After you say fat or hairy, right? You say self-made, educated, successful, inspirational, innovative, creative, talented, and so much more after the fat, right? So, fat or hairy doesn't negate truth, opinion, or oversight, which we are all entitled to, and we all have our own truth and our own opinion. All right, so I just wanted to go ahead and get that nonsense out the way, because people will try to take your image and say, oh, well, you have no opinion here, right? Because you don't look as good as Megan the Stallion. But no, I can still have an opinion, and I can still talk to my viewers. Okay. Now let's go ahead and get into what this episode is all about. I won't go too much in depth because this case is all too popular, and it has actually taken over the internet on many occasions since the incident occurred in 2020, when we were all on lockdown. Okay. So Daystar Peterson, better known as Tory Lanez, was said to have been shooting an illegal weapon and shot Megan Thee Stallion in the foot. The internet was actually in shambles, trying to put the pieces together from that night, because Megan actually denied being shot in the beginning, forming a story of actually stepping on glass to allegedly, and she came up with that story to allegedly protect Tory from being shot by the police, because I guess she was saying like the protests and things like that were at its height, and she didn't want, the cops to just pull up and, shoot everybody there, because, sometimes people are trigger happy. Clearly, Tory Lanez, right? So, Kelsey, who was at the time Megan's best friend and assistant, who is said to have moved from Texas to, I want to say, Cali with Megan, I guess left her life behind to come and live with Meg, build their, I'm not sure what she was actually doing with Meg outside of assisting her. And it was alleged that I guess she was doing her homework from time to time. We don't know. Some of this stuff, it just seems outlandish. A lot of this stuff just is like, it's kind of too much to keep up with. So I'm just going to put allegedly on everything, because I'm not one of the quote unquote bloggers who Megan Thee Stallion will be suing. You want to know why? Because I deal with fact, truth, and opinion. And since we have yet to receive what I feel like was the full truth from everybody, then all we have are assumptions, right? But anywho, so her best friend was also believed or rumored to be the shooter at the time. Later that summer, Megan did take to IG Live, and she told her truth of Tory actually shooting her. And I remember her vividly saying, "You shot me. Like, you shot me, Tory denied it, and Kelsey and Megan actually, I want to say they said Tory was making music about it. I'm not sure about that. Like, I haven't listened to him since I think his first album, when I did really listen to his music. But Megan dropped a song, I want to say. Kelsey dropped like a response type song. I guess they're considered diss tracks. And yeah, so Kelsey, I guess, denied it. Tory denied it. And Megan is claiming, Tory, you shot me, right? So 2 years later, December 2022, the case finally went to trial. And it was actually not Megan pressing charges against Tory. It was actually the state against Tory, or Daystar, whatever you want to call him. Some people call him Leprechaun, but we'll get there later. So, the case finally went to trial December 2022. Many hoping to finally hear the truth of what actually happened that night. And here on, December 27th, 2022, after the trial has, I guess, concluded and the verdict was made, we are still a little foggy about what actually happened that night. And I'm actually kind of thinking they were probably foggy too from being so lit. But the jury did decide that Tory was guilty, and he now faces up to 20 plus years and deportation back to Canada. So that will be decided. His fate will be decided near the end of January of 2023. So the biased sector of the public believes for some reason that everybody now owes Megan Thee Stallion an apology, when truth be told, the only apologies warranted for that night should be Tory apologizing to Megan and Kelsey and the people whose houses he was near shooting that weapon, and Megan giving Kelsey an apology. Okay. I am not going to get into too many specifics. I'm going to try to keep the story of what happened as we heard it, and put those pieces together. Very simple, because again, I'm pretty sure you guys have listened to probably other people talk about this, but if you haven't, the story somewhat goes like this. Okay. Megan Thee Stallion is at a party she brought her best friend Kelsey, right? Her stylist EJ, to a party, or a kickback rather, at Kylie Jenner's home. Okay. So they're having fun. I guess Kylie wants Tory there, or whatever the case is. Tory does arrive later on that day, or that night. They're in the pool. They're having fun. Whatever. It's said that Megan was feeling away because Tory was all up on Kylie. Look, I'm not, again, going too far into that. We're going to try to keep it plain Jane, very simple. So they're lit. Kelsey, I think, goes and lays down. Whatever. Meg's ready to go. I think her wig or something is coming up or coming off, and she's ready to go. Her stylist is just like, let's go. I don't even know if Megan was ready to go, but the stylist is saying we should go, right? So they leave, and the stylist is thinking, I guess they're coming with him, but they actually choose, Kelsey and Megan actually choose to go with Tory's security guard. And they get in his truck and they leave. Megan says she forgot something, her shoes, and comes back. At that point, it is said that she went in, and yeah, they were drinking and stuff. We're not going to focus too much on that. She went in. I don't know if she got into it with Tory. Nobody really knows, but it said that Kylie or Kris Jenner's boyfriend, I forget his name. Is it Corey? I don't even know, but whatever. It is said that he puts them out, or Kylie puts them out. Somebody puts them out. So then they say Megan come back to the car, and she's like, yeah, girl, Kylie put us out. Whatever. So now Tory, security, Megan, Kelsey are all in the vehicle, and they take off. It was shots at the ego, shots at people's prides, people's careers, and I guess things got heated because people don't take too lightly when they're drunk, especially to shade and shots and ego bruises and things like that. They want to get the upper hand. So allegedly, Tory goes, hey, Kelsey, you're protecting your friend back there, but your friend, she ain't ish. You want to know why? Because she was supposed to hook me and you up. Okay, Kelsey, me and you, this is Tory talking, me and you, and she actually been effing on me. So Kelsey like, Meg, you been effing on my mans, like, so, I mean, it's not a funny situation, granted, because of what happened, but when you listen to it, it's like, damn, that's kind of messed up. So it said that everybody just blows up and is arguing and fighting and the neighbor is saying everybody was fighting, okay? And then the neighbor who was actually witnessing everything says he saw a flash by the girl. Then he saw a short guy with the waving something around and flashing it around. It's a really messy story, okay? Now, that's allegedly what happened. So the trial goes, we have detectives getting on. I think the detectives got on the stand. I know a police officer got on the stand who I think arrested Kelsey. You have actually a lot of black media out there, and it is said that there was a little bit of prejudice or racism in the court between the black media and white media. The white media were being very shady towards the black media being there. That's interesting, but not surprising. So in the trial, right, we have people who, I guess, test DNA. We have Kelsey herself get on the stand, and it said that she pled the fifth. She asked for immunity and was granted it, and she act like she didn't remember anything from that night because she's going through too much to remember what happened that night, even though briefly, not briefly, but prior to this, she had allegedly told the whole story. And they played that in the courtroom. Tory did not get on the stand. Megan did get on the stand. And Megan actually talked about how she just wished she wasn't here today. She wished she didn't have to testify. She low-key wished that she had passed away that night because this has all been too much on her mental health. Okay, people called it a sympathy cry. And she told the story that I guess Tory actually took the gun and aimed it at her foot and told her to dance, be dance. Okay, she did have to admit to actually sleeping with Tory Lanez, even though publicly in a Gayle King interview, she said she didn't. Okay, so people are like, well, her sex life is not on trial, so who cares who she had sex with? I think when you put the whole story together and you hear about everything that happened and why things were so turned up, because it wouldn't have made sense to just say, oh, I said he was a loser and he pointed a gun at me and shot me, So it's just like, things to think about. Who else got on the stand? They couldn't find, I guess, Meg's old security, and they couldn't find Tory's old security. Well, I don't know if he's still Tory's security, but allegedly they couldn't find nobody until the actual verdict came in, the day of the verdict or something. So it just was a very messy case. It didn't really seem put together. And the prosecutors also added a last minute charge before it had started, before the case started. So that's kind of how it went. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time there. So the verdict, it was expected because everybody already knew, Tory, you're guilty. Whether you aimed at her or you just was waving a gun around and it so happened to graze her foot, you are guilty. You shot that gun. You shouldn't have had the gun. It doesn't matter. Okay. They tried to put it into Kelsey's hands. It was said that Kelsey was paid off to, I guess, cause a mistrial. But that's not what we got here. We got a guilty verdict, okay? It was expected, like I said. It was surprising due to how messy the case was and how, in a sense, weak the prosecution's case actually felt. And, the father, after the verdict, Tory's father, was very, very passionate and emotional and blamed everybody in the world, the sun, the moon, and Rock Nation, except for his son, for what actually happened on this night, okay? So, I just want to point out that saying, and people have been calling Meg a liar, people have really been going at her, okay? She has said that the industry has turned their backs on her and has kind of blackballed her in the industry, in the rap game, because it's frowned upon to quote unquote snitch and this, that, and the third. But I just personally feel like if your health or if your life was at risk here, I'm snitching. Okay. I'm snitching, but we'll get into that too. So saying that this person shot me sounds really different from we were brawling and this person recklessly waved a weapon around and my foot was grazed by a bullet. It just sounds different because it kind of went into a you versus me, him versus me, protect black women. No, protect black women. I mean, men. It just was like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I feel like it became a battle of ego, a battle of pride, and a battle of reputation rather than the battle of truth. Okay, there has been people all on social media like, yeah, F this, F that, Megan, team Megan, send that leprechaun back to the cereal box, send that leprechaun back to Canada, lock him under the jail, this, that, and the third. And it's just like, it's so much leprechaun talk now, but your fave, right? If you are so up somebody's ass, just keep in mind your fave slept with that leprechaun, and that's not why this situation happened, but that was why the argument happened, allegedly. So, it's funny when you're kind of done with somebody and you've used them for what you wanted or got, and now you shade them and insult them. And it's just like, I know after you kind of come to your senses and be like, ugh, why did I ever do that person? Like you can think like that, but it's like, it's funny that people are just, I don't know, are quick to, again, attack looks and attack height and attack this and that. But y'all not attacking the truth. Okay? All right? So Megan's mental health, no doubt about it. It's actually, I'm not doubtful at all that this was, that it was impacted by this incident. I actually think that this incident may have snapped her back into reality. Like, word on the curb is she's actually drinking less these days. She's written songs about her mental health, and she also started a brand surrounding her mental health. So I actually hope she continues to publicize how much mental health matters. And I hope she continues to prioritize her own mental health, okay? So moving forward, many people actually liked the narrative that Megan's sex life wasn't on trial. But I think it was more so the lies about her sex life to save face or save character that people weren't so much fooling with. Does she owe people her sex stories? Not at all. Not at all. We're not entitled to know what she does in her bedroom. Okay? Does this specific sexual partner in an act itself, in the act itself lead to the tension and the huge blow up in that car that night? Possibly. So I don't think people are saying you owe me your sex stories more than they're just saying we would like the truth, because we have the protect Black women narrative. And it's interesting to me because it only seems that it becomes mainstream when people want to garner support or redirect the attention of the public. Like, yes, we absolutely want to protect you. But what happened? Not even but. So what happened? Okay? Let us know what happened. Protect Black women, the Protect Black Women movement does not neglect truth and accountability. We don't have to blindly support anyone, right? Truth is a fair exchange for protection and support. I firmly stand behind that. So, for instance, we received the facts about the Breonna Taylor case, and rightfully so. Her story garnered our support. So protect Black women is not synonymous with protect our favorite celebrities and don't hold them accountable. Okay? So people are like, oh, believe them the first time. And we tried to. And we were lied to with glass slipper stories and Yolanda Saldivar 2.0 stories. It was rumors stacked upon rumors, lies stacked upon lies. And we have, in this instance, in most instances in life, we have the circle of cause and effect. What led to the events that night? Was it liquor, ego, jealousy, toxicity, stupidity, a lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas? For example, this is not even related. If I drop a glass dish because I grabbed it with my bare hands from the oven and my girlfriend walks over and she cuts her foot, I'm the cause of why she got cut. Now, can we go a little deeper and say, well, should she have known not to walk over here barefoot after hearing glass break? Yeah, because she's old enough to understand, she broke a glass. Let me put something on my feet before I walk over here. However, should I have known to wear oven mitts because it's coming out a 350-degree oven? Yes. And maybe I wouldn't have dropped the glass. It's just like all these truths can exist at once. And I'm not Mrs. Perfect. Let me give y'all a little background on me. Okay? So just because I'm old enough now to understand character, relationships, discernment, and things like that, there was a time where I actually had questionable intentions and I formed questionable relationships and I was a shitty person, right? I was a shitty person. I grew up with somebody who I considered my sister. We were raised like sisters. We were always together. And I talked about this story before on my main YouTube channel. And I talked about how I was like 15, 16. She was like 13, 14. And she had a long distance relationship. And he was like 22, 23 or some shit like that. And I was introduced to him by her. Granted, I was able to cover my ass by saying, well, you know, neither one of us should have been talking to him. He was over 18. We were 14 and 16 or 13 and 15. Neither one of us should have been talking to him, right? I was able to try to say that for a very long time. But I had to sit back and think like, yeah, but what you did was shitty. Regardless of his age, her age, your age, what you did was shitty. And it garnered the consequences that it received, okay? So she introduced me to her man at the time, okay? Me and him form a best friendship, which in turn furthers into a relationship. So I became what people would say a homewrecker. Right? So I'm not 14. She's like 14. I'm like 16. And it's like, oh, well, you know, I'm more so not living in Victimville, but I'm definitely like, well, neither one of us should have been talking to him. So I don't feel bad, or I don't feel as bad as I should, you know, trying to brush it off. But it wasn't a brush off thing. You want to know why? Because that's your character. And that's shitty of you to go and take your sister's man, regardless of ages, regardless of if it's puppy love, regardless of anything, because now you have betrayed the trust of your sister who you have been around for 10 plus years. And now y'all relationship would never be the same, and you have to deal with whether or not she wants to be cool with you and remain like a sister to you, you know? Like, you have to deal with that. We're cousins, but we were raised like sisters. So now we don't have a relationship for real nowadays, but I can't push that aside like, oh, you know, that was so long ago, whatever, you know, just because now I'm old enough to understand it. Back then it was just as wrong as it would be today. Okay, regardless of if we never met this man in person, regardless of if he was 20 plus years old and we were 14 and 15 and 16 or whatever the case is, right? That's not the point. The point is you betrayed your sister trust, and now she would never look at you the same. And now if y'all was to remain cool and she had, you know, I don't want to say the N-word, but you know, she had her dudes around, like, she's still never going to look at you the same. Like, she's not going to trust them around. Like, when she got boyfriends and stuff after that situation, I would barely say, hey. I would turn my head, be in my phone, whatever. I never wanted her to think like, girl, I'm going to take your man again or something like that. Like, because that was shitty of me. And it was like held over my head, not just by her, but by her family and by everybody else who knew. I had people coming up to me on the school bus. Oh, I heard you stole such and such man. I'm like, huh? Like, how did you know? Like, I don't get into drama in school. Like, what the fuck is this school bus drama? So, you know, it's just stuff like that. Like, these things shade your character and they stain your character. You feel me? So, and then furthermore, I also resonate with Megan because I've also been depressed and reliant on liquor or, I've been depressed and reliant on liquor. I can't say that this is what she was, right? But I've been there. And that led to physical altercations with my best friend and us cutting each other, ended up in the hospital needing stitches, whatever. Shitty decisions on my behalf, poor mental health, toxic relationships, trauma bonds, wanting anyone around just to not be lonely, drinking anytime we can, pouring up a cup, okay? To the point where depressed as hell, and our favorite punch was this blackout punch, okay? And we had Four Loko in there, Everclear, rum, gin. Like, we was not trying to wake up the next day, okay? So I've been there where I was relying on liquor. I am not Mrs. Perfect, okay? I let people get inside of me who didn't deserve to be. And yes, I mean that sexually, okay? I do. I made poor decisions. So I am not shocked when they say this has affected her mental health. Yes, because when you snap back into reality, you regret those decisions. You regret what you tolerated. You regret putting yourself in certain instances for things like this to happen. Is it your fault? No. Can we be accountable? Yes. Because you're always going to have the woulda, coulda, shouldas. If I would have just left and never went back to Kylie's house, this probably wouldn't have happened, right? If I wouldn't have slept with Tory, this probably wouldn't have happened. Like, it's just different things where it's just like, these things are in the back of our, like, they weigh on us, okay? So that's why I'm like, I hope that she actually continues to prioritize her mental health. I don't want her to feel like she wished she would have just died that night. I don't want that. No matter if I am a fan of her or a stan of her or not, you shouldn't want people to walk around feeling like that. So I have a few last points. And I just want to say that your faves are not always right, and your faves do not escape accountability. Whether you are quote unquote Team Meg or Team Tory, neither person can escape accountability. Megan was the victim in this situation. Yes, we know. Okay? Yes, we know. But again, there are missteps from that night. There are actions and words and things to be accountable for on everyone's part that night. And I think more so, I am disappointed that it seems that we still have yet to receive the truth. No one is telling the same story of what happened. And now I'm just going to sit with, I am Team Truth. Okay? I'm not standing Megan Thee Stallion in this situation. I'm not standing Tory Lanez in this situation. Tory was wrong for shooting Megan Thee Stallion or shooting a gun that ended up grazing her foot or whatever happened that night, because we have yet to really know. I can love Beyonce and not like every choice she made. I can love Drake and not support the alleged procedures that he's had women undergo to save face, okay, and not have kiddos. I can love Megan Thee Stallion and call her out on being a shitty friend. I can love Nicki Minaj and feel like she isn't bowing out gracefully. I can love Summer Walker and not agree with her preferring a gay male or white assistant and not giving a black person a chance. I can love Rihanna and not want her to be a baby mama, despite the rumors of her actually being married to ASAP, right? So, your faves are humans. Your faves are not perfect. Your faves do not escape criticism or opinions. Your faves are allowed to make mistakes. Your faves are allowed to grow and mature. And everyone does not have to sniff the twerk air of your favorites, okay? So on that note, thank you for joining this episode of The Delicate Dynamic. This was episode 6. We are not here to judge. And even if you've gotten this far and you still agree to disagree, that is okay. I still thank you for listening, okay? Hope you guys enjoy your day or your night whenever you're listening to this. And I will see you in episode 7, because I am going to come on camera. This was a voiceover, clearly. But I'm going to come on camera for episode 7 because I haven't been on camera in a very long time.
Thanks for listening. I would love to hear your feedback on this episode. Be sure to leave your thoughts in a comment. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this.